Good morning and welcome back to TR7, as otherwise known as Tibby. Just a bit of an update for you this morning. I have progressed on a little with the spark issue, or the generation of the spark, the overheating of the coil. And what I deduced is that the opto switching inside the distributor for the electronic ignition had dropped by about 0.7 of a volt down about 2 volts. So when it switches, it goes from should be 2.7 volts and then 1 volt open and close, and that in the end will actually send the signal to this to put the voltage. It fires the transistor in here, which then generates the voltage across the coil, which then supplies to the center lead and then the appropriate spark plug on the distributor cap. Now, originally, as I said, this coil would have been a 6 volt with a standard distributor with points, condenser, etc. However, when the electronic ignition is changed, you put a 12 volt coil in and remove the ballast resistor, and you use the 12 volt system. And the 12 volts on the coil naturally goes from about 12 volts down to about 7 volts. And this voltage on this coil was getting down to about, less than 5 volts. So it's almost as if this was a 6 volt coil that was never changed. In all my born days, I think it's over a period of time that this thing is cooked, because this one I have here, which is an original Lucas one, which I borrowed from a friend, is a 12 volt coil, and it's a 3 ohm coil. This one's a 1.5. So this is a 1.5 ohm coil, which is still reading roughly about that. It's the wrong coil. So I think when they originally said, I've owned this car since 2007 thereabouts, and I can't quite gather for the life of me why I've never noticed this thing overheating before. The coil, that is. But this is, again, they do say with older cars that you don't leave the ignition on because it can cook the coil. But then with the Lumenition system, I wouldn't expect to have it to sink so much power. Now, to test it originally yesterday, what I did was I put in, let me get them, they're here somewhere, let's have a look, see if I can find them. Here they are. What I did was I made my own ballast resistor. It's an assembly of 3 2.25 watt ohm resistors, ceramic, in parallel, and I actually put that in series with the coil, and this was getting quite hot. I had it sort of like bolted to the chassis somehow just to try and sink that heat from the ceramic, and the coil still did get warm. This one, the silver one, still did get warm, and it still failed. I took it. She lasted a bit longer, I've got to say. It's because the heat was being taken by some of this, you see, which did infer to me that perhaps I needed a bigger wattage resistor. Well, that would be because I've got the wrong coil, or this coil is faulty. Now, one of the symptoms of the spark dying, like I said, is that if I'm on low revs and I'm trying to pull away very slowly, the load on the engine is sufficient for it to cough, splutter and die. And then if it's too hot, it's so hot you can hardly keep a hand on it. Usually they can go about between 50 degrees or thereabouts. So it's not exactly completely cold when it's running normally. So that would be with the coil hot and the engine spluttering. That would be the symptom that the spark or the coil is giving up, not the Lumenition system. Because when this goes cold, this works fine. This works fine. And it's just basically a big transistor firing system. I did check inside one, and it's a massive darnage and drive it. But anyhow, I digress on that. So therefore, it's pointing me back to the coil again. And when I put this one in, and obviously I tried this one, it wouldn't start. I tried that one, and it started, bang, on the button. I thought, great. And when I was revving the engine on load, she was running fine. Took her out for a spin. I tried all the I went the same route as up a hill, down a hill, starting from a uphill junction, and feathering the throttle as little as I could to see if I could get a repeat on the fact that after the coil had heated, would it be sufficient for the engine to start spluttering? Obviously, you know, you can get to the point where you're balancing the clutch where the engine may stall. I know the difference between that and the engine having trouble pulling under load. But I never got that with this new coil. So that tells me that this coil, which is a 12 volt Lucas 3 ohm coil, and when I'm running, I get nearly, you know, between 6 and 7 volts out of this coil. Disconnect the coil, I get 12 volts across the lead and to the coil. On one side of the coil and the lead, I get the 12 volts from the Lumenition system, which is correct. But when it's running, when it's connected, you'll get about 6-7 volts, and therefore that turns into that 6 volt firing through the coil to the thing, which is originally why they had a 6 volt coil, I guess. But the 3 ohm 12 volt, not 1.5 ohms, is the correct one to use. Or I believe this has never been 3 ohms, and that's why I was in denial, really, because this had worked all the time. Well, maybe it was working all the time, but it's just taken this amount of time to degrade so much that it's given up the ghost. And so, as you can see, I've got this one temporarily put here. I've not been out on the road like this, but no, sorry, I did go out on the road like that. I had a few more rags in there to keep it in situ, but that's where I am with it. It's I've got another coil, an original Lucas coil, 12 volt, 3 ohm on order, and it'll be here this week. And this one I'm going to give back. I was more than welcome to keep this, but she's seen a few years, this one. But if I get a brand spanking new genuine Lucas, what else? What more could I ask for? So there we are. So this Lumenition system was replaced because the voltage, I think, was down about half a volt. So I've renewed the Lumenition system, the drive transistor, the mechanism of the firing for the coil and the coil. So, you know, about £160 worth of stuff just to try and get this thing working absolutely optimally. And yeah, that's where I am. And actually the center HT's out on that. So she's stone cold, and if where's the HT lead? Where is it? It's down here. If I just temporarily plug that in, I know she's not looking ideal at the moment. It's not in the ideal location. Make sure that's in, and get my keys out. So I'd probably need a bit of choke or something, because it absolutely is stone cold at the moment, the engine. And I will get it in. It's out of gear. Yeah.
It's just been like relentless.
Let's turn that off. And what I'm going to do is just going to put my foot on the accelerator. Let's give it a bit of revs. So you will see it start. It will start quite nicely. Give it a... he says. Have I got everything connected, he says. So yeah. That's on there, that's on there. Yes, yes, yes. Maybe it does need choke. Perhaps I will do that. I'm going to put you down. Let's see if I can put you down there. She might wobble a bit because I'm... Let's get some choke on this, I think. That's what it was, a bit of choke. She does run lumpy when it's cold. This is the choke cable, by the way. So it just needs a bit of persuasion, and yeah, she'll run a bit lumpy when it's completely cold. When she starts warming up, she's nice. Yeah, so it's still a bit cold. Oh dear, come on. Behave yourself. Almost feels it wants to backfire at the moment. Choke. I don't think it's 100% at the moment. Don't know why. Perhaps I need to give it a good blast. Turn that off. Alright, okay. But I'm sure with this, the brand spanking new Coil in, she'll run a lot better, I'm sure. So, after a new Lumenition system, actually I've got the old one here somewhere, where is it? Because I did dig out the old, where I put it, oh yes, here it is. Yeah, this is the old one. What I decided to do was I actually dug it all out, look, and you can see in there, there's an ST Microelectronics BU31ZPFI. The date code on this 44, or 1992, work week 44. And this, if you look this up, is just a massive Darlington driver, so it's a high voltage thing. And when that opto goes, it enables this to fire the voltage out to the coil. So, you know, it's quite beefy. And but you see, it's all caked in this rubber, not easily designed to be serviced. But yeah, I've got a spare one if I need one, I suppose. If it's good, it buzzes out okay. But it could be a bit leaky still. It could be a bit leaky. I don't know. But this one now is perfect, and they've changed the color coding. So this is the cable actually, which goes out to the distribution, the Dizzy. So you've got supply, ground, and the switching wire, which is the blue. So that's your feedback from the opto, and yeah, to here to tell this thing to fire from the status of the opto. Simple as, right? But it's patented, and they don't like you fixing these things because they cost about £100 plus just to renew. You can see why. Yeah, but very reliable. It was made in sort of roughly 1993. It's 30 years old, and peace of mind, I suppose, really. Okay, I shall leave it there, and next hopefully I'll be out on the road a day or two time, just to let you hear what it sounds like on the road and how it pulls. Okay, bye.